the storm came in. Let's go to Aaron Brackett live. Aaron?
Searching for that, what would have been that power outage area, and right now we're at Bryant and Southeast 15th, just south of the Tinker Diagonal right there. And, since we just spoke about 3 minutes ago, we had about 3 more power dips here where the power would kind of brown out and go out and then come back. So winds are still very, very intense here. This thing is far from over in this part of the metro. Many parts of the metro are still experiencing lots of power issues. And I think that OG&E System Watch number is going to keep going up from what we've seen here. Just still very intense winds, about 60, 65 miles per hour, almost continuous. Curtains of rain coming here, so there's spray all over the place. And, I mean, you're looking at our front camera. You basically can't see anything out of it. I'll switch to the roof camera here for just a moment. You can see that's basically more of the same. I mean, you can't even see much farther than a couple feet behind the vehicle right there. So very dangerous situation here. Definitely feels like a hurricane. That's a very good way to explain it. Intermittent power flashes. Power will go out, come back, and be rerouted, and that just happens all over again. So it's going to be a little while before things turn to any sort of normalcy around here, Mike.
Okay, let's go to one of our other trackers here, Chris McBee, if he's still with us. Chris, where are you? You're by the KFOR studios a short while ago. What have you seen? Where are you now?
I'm southbound on the Broadway extension. I think I just passed 23rd, heading towards downtown. I will say I have seen a lot of power flashes off to my southeast, kind of in the vicinity of Lake Draper in Midwest City, like you were saying just a moment ago. I have seen a lot of those greenish blue power flashes. I do want to say there was also an accident on the northbound side of the Broadway extension at 63rd under the overpass, and that's backing up traffic in that area. Not too many people out, but there were definitely, a dozen or more cars stopped on the northbound Broadway extension with all this heavy rain and wind coming in. It's a dangerous situation. But I'm heading towards downtown right now just to see what's going on in this part of the city. I was on the interstate. There's a lot of areas of flooding where you're kicking up all the water, and it's real dangerous out here, Mike. No matter where you are, I would really urge people.
Okay, Chris McBee there reporting now from near downtown Oklahoma City, still reporting some power outages, especially down toward the Midwest City area. I do want to show you here as we go back over to our wind velocities here. Let's kind of get an overview as to what we have going on. Severe thunderstorm warning continues. Inland hurricane continues for Oklahoma City. I tell you, there's an area of strong winds now, very strong winds that have formed near Valley Brook on down toward Crossroads Mall. So we're going to highlight that area. So we're zooming on in. There's Oklahoma City University. There's downtown, Del City, Midwest City, Forest Park, Lake Aluma, Tinker Diagonal, Tinker Air Force Base. Very high winds here. This is going to be very close to 36th Street and 23rd Street, and right around Air Depot and over toward Anderson and Sooner. High winds in those neighborhoods, and then there's some very high wind forming very close to Valley Brook and Crossroads Mall, Southeast 36th, Southeast 44th, Southeast 59th Street, showing some high velocity wind. If we can talk to either Aaron or Chris McBee or Jeremy, the area very close to on the northern side of Crossroads Mall. There may be a little contamination of the data, but it looks to be very high wind right there. That'd be I-35 at about 59th Street on down to about 89th Street. What do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, Mike, we're basically at I-40. We're right in the middle of Del City pretty much, and winds are still absolutely whipping, and there's lots of street flooding here. And it's pretty interesting. I haven't zoomed out my radar view in quite a bit, and I zoomed it out, and this thing is covering the entire city. So here's the problem. As parts of the city are without power, and if anyone's out on the road, which they shouldn't be, if anyone's out on the road, you're going to come across floodwaters that you'll have basically no idea that you're even in them. Look at the water spraying up. We're not even going that fast, and it's just spraying about 40 feet out in front of the vehicle right here in Interceptor 4. So, folks, there's going to be power outages, areas that are not lit, and there's going to be just massive flooding. We're already seeing it right now. I mean, we're going about 25 miles an hour. That's the most we can do because this flooding is so bad here in the immediate Del City area. So, in addition to the winds, I think flooding is going to be a very dangerous thing for folks tonight. That's going to last some time. And, people just need to be aware that this is not going to go away anytime soon. Mike?
Yeah, flash flood warning in effect now. Flash flood warning in effect for Oklahoma City. Jolene Cheney and Kevin Ogle join us tonight from the news desk.
That's right, Mike. Thank you very much. We have been watching all of this and getting texts from family and friends about what's happening in their area. We do know, though, Jolene, the number of power outages is beginning to go up.
Yeah, more than 3,100, but that number's kind of stayed there for a bit, and we suspect that will, of course, there will be more. This is near Crescent, Guthrie, Oklahoma City, Piedmont, and we suspect several other places as well will be added to that.
Probably in the Edmond area, too, yeah.
Also reports of damage.
Absolutely. Got some power poles down on the Lake Hefner Parkway. We had that wreck that Chris McBee was talking about at 63rd and Broadway in the underpass. So a lot of people trying to weather the storm and trying to get out of the storm, but it's very difficult to do. And if you're inside right now, or maybe in your severe weather spot listening to us on our family of radio stations, and just stay where you are. There's no need to get out right now.
Again, that power pole down at Lake Hefner Parkway near Northwest 50th, and I'm sure that's probably not the only one that's down.
Right.
So keep that in mind if you decide to get out and drive about. There's probably a lot more that meets the eye, or meets the eye.
And a lot of people, like Mike said, want to go out after the storm's kind of passed to check the damage in their area around their house. And at night, it's so dangerous, and maybe some live power lines down. They are deadly. So just stay inside for as long as you can when the storm passes, and that's the best place to be right now, with Mike telling you what's coming up and listening to us, whether online on KFOR.com, on our apps, or on our family of radio stations we're involved with.
We're looking at some of our cameras, our city cameras, and we were talking about the power outages earlier, probably about 30 minutes ago or so. If you were watching, you may have seen the power flashes, and it looks like a couple of substations, and that is most likely the reason we have so many power outages right now. But it was incredible to see that video from some of our city cams of just the one right after another. Got
reports of damage near Waterloo and Coltrane there in the Edmond area, where we were, of course, so worried about those tornadoes coming through that area. Anywhere we're worried about, but that's where the tornado signatures were earlier. So that's what happened there.
And talking about how the damage and how strong the winds are, we are Broadway Extension and Britton Road. And Mike was saying this earlier, our building, it's brand new, can withstand an EF3 tornado. And one of our meteorologists went outside. It was pitch black. I think we're running off generators right now.
Might be.
But our building was swaying back and forth.
Yeah, like Mike says, those sustained winds can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
So just be careful, stay inside. Mike will keep you updated. In fact, speaking of him, let's go back to him right now.
You know, and flooding, guys, is really becoming a very serious concern now, just because of the size of the storm. It's so large that it's taking a long time. And then here's another problem. Now, so here we are at almost 10 o'clock, all right? So the high winds are in the South Metro and the East Metro and the Central Oklahoma City area now. But see this development going on in Kingfisher County. This is all, we call this training. It's like it's on a track. And the track is feeding into the back of the severe storm over Oklahoma City. If this continues, see how this just kind of popped up and it's all feeding into Oklahoma County. And the computer models actually show this to continue. If it does continue, we're going to have some very, very severe flooding problems, a lot worse than it is right now. We're talking about some of the flooding we had earlier this year. That kind of flooding, where you're talking feet deep, cars stalled out, stranded folks, all that. So if you, by chance, hunkered down someplace and not at home, you know, you need to consider if you've got to get back out, and hopefully you don't have to, right? Hopefully you're where you want to be and you're home. But let me tell you, if this continues, and the computer models have predicted this most of the afternoon, we're going to have a lot of high water. So if you have to do any traveling later tonight, you're waiting for it to get better, it's going to take a long time for it to get better. And then we're going to have this flooding problem quite possibly get worse. So we're talking about one of the more severe storms we've seen, you know, leaving out the big tornadoes that we've had. We're talking about that kind of situation here that is continuing to develop. It doesn't look like it's going to go away anytime real soon. So the flooding may get a lot worse. The trend right now is not in the right direction. Computer models say this actually happens. And we wind up getting some giant rainfall totals tonight. Inches and inches worth of rain. And a lot of folks have already had 1 to 2 inches of rain. There may be potential to get a lot more than that the way things are going. We're under a flash flood warning, and it continues right on through the early morning hours. It's not quite 10 o'clock. We're talking about hours more of this. Is this Aaron Brackett here with some damage, perhaps? And Mark Dillard. Go, Aaron.
Yeah, Mike, this is the Lowe's parking lot just off to the north side of Tinker right there. And you know how they have the sheds on display out in the parking lot at many Lowe's and Home Depot? This is one of them that has taken flight and been driven into a tree there in the parking lot. And you can see by the way there's a bunch of spray in the front of our vehicle. The winds are still just absolutely raging out here. So just one example of damage. We had some signs down on I-40 as you approach Tinker from the west. There was some highway signage down there. And intermittent power flashes and bumps still continue in this part of town where we have quite a bit of wind happening, and of course all that rain that's just going to add insult to injury that's still on the way. Mike.
Okay, so wind damage down at Lowe's, down in Midwest City, right, Aaron? Let's go to Jeremy Carter live. Jeremy, where are you right now? A lot of high wind where you are.
Yeah, Mike, I'm in Cadell City off Air Depot, or say Midwest City. Look at the rain. This gives you a good picture of just how intense this wind is. This is really dangerous to be out right now. Mike, unfortunately, a lot of people on the roads. And as Aaron was talking about earlier, there's been a few places I come up to where the water had inundated the roads. You can't see it till you're there. Power is flashing left and right. I'm starting to get concerned that some power lines may come down on us. We're trying to be very, very careful and choose where we're at very carefully. Back to you, Mike.
All right, flash flood warning, folks. Flash flood warning's in effect, and the conditions are not going to improve anytime soon. Flood-prone areas are either in flood now or are going to go into flood, and they may go into some pretty serious flood. Let's go to Chris McBee live. Chris, where are you located?
Yeah, Mike, I'm at I-35 at Southeast 89th Street. Just a moment ago, I saw sparks come out of the lights on a billboard on 59th. And it looks like a lot of the area around 89th Street is without power. Did see some police kind of canvassing the area just a moment ago. But yeah, power, excuse me, pretty broadly out in this area. Looks like it's not quite as bad here south of 89th, but I'm going to get over to Midwest City area and see what's going on there with those high winds, Mike.
Okay, that's Chris McBee there. Let's go back over to radar. We're going to start covering some damage here as well. So here's the broad view right here. So as you can see, for everybody else that's outside of the metro here, there's really very little going on. It's all centered. The center of the weather universe is right now in central Oklahoma, and that is meaning we're talking the flooding, the damaging winds, the lightning, the hail. And it's such a large storm. You see the size of it here. Covers all of Oklahoma County. It's now down into Cleveland County, and we're getting back into Kingfisher County that's feeding in to this complex of storms. Flash flood warning out. Flash flood warning coming out for Canadian County. Very heavy rain all the way back to El Reno right now. Literally the most intense storm on the planet is over Oklahoma City right now, and that's not a stretch. It's actually what's going on. Inland hurricane here. High winds continue, especially in South Oklahoma City, into Cleveland County, into Midwest City, Del City, Choctaw, and then on down toward McLeod and Dale and Twin Lakes. A measured wind gust of 69 miles per hour measured in downtown Oklahoma City. High winds located where? Southeast 74th and Post, high winds there. So that's down in southeastern Oklahoma County, down the Tinker Diagonal, high winds there. And we're getting this additional heavy rain developing, which is going to aggravate the flooding problem going forward. So conditions really are not going to improve. The wind may come down some, but the flooding is going to continue to get worse. So these are the high winds right now in South Oklahoma City, in Moore, over toward Draper Lake, heading down toward Thunderbird, heading on through Choctaw and Dale and McLeod. High winds there. Southeast 74th and Post. There is your time of arrival. Talking about over here into Pottawatomie County, on down towards Stella, Oklahoma, eastern Cleveland, central Cleveland County, into Pottawatomie County, Twin Lakes, McLeod, west side of Tecumseh and Shawnee. Still a lot of dime, nickel, and quarter-size hailstones. Nothing really much bigger than perhaps a small size of a golf ball, about 1.5 inches or so in diameter. That's about the biggest hail we have right now. So no giant hail. The main threat going forward is still some wind, and then the down power lines and the power outages and the trees uprooted and the tree limbs down, and then the flooding. That's the main threat here going forward with this ongoing very severe storm. So the highest winds here are in the brightest shade of that blue-green, See the high winds now centered right over Midwest City and Del City. A lot of blowing sprays, zero visibility, Tinker Diagonal, highest winds right now in that immediate area. There's North Midwest City, high winds in that brighter shade of blue. Central Midwest City, high winds there. Let's take the Midwest City cam, take a look at that, and check out what it looks like near Rose State College in Midwest City. And blowing wind and spray and heavy rain. That camera might be frozen. It looks like it might have taken perhaps some type of power bump, but it looks like it's just a storm in progress for sure. Let's go back over to our team of trackers, get an update from them with Aaron Brackett live. Aaron?
Look at this stream. This is incredible. Mark Dillard just said a second ago, it's incredible how long this has lasted. Power flash right there. So we got a substation on fire. Yep, there's a fire live. I hope you can see that right there. But we're right off the Tinker Diagonal, just about a mile and a half off to the west of Tinker. We've got some hail happening here. Yep, we're at Rose State. So power's out now. I don't know if our Rose State camera is faring well through this, but a little substation or some sort of transformer that just had a big power flash and a subsequent fire. All the power is out in this area right now. So, Mike, this is so long lasting. It is kind of like a hurricane where, you know, the damage occurs from structures being subjected to this wind for so long on end, not just a brief wind gust. This is a sustained damaging wind event right now, Mike.
Aaron Brackett there from Midwest City with power outages, substations going up. Very, very high winds, and there is the center of that high wind right there over the entire Midwest City area. From there, it does extend down into Moore. There's high wind in Moore now, down I-35, high wind there, and then over into northeastern Cleveland County. Kevin and Jolene join us from the anchor desk.
Widespread damage reported throughout the metro.
News 4's Kate Smith joins us live near Memorial and MacArthur. Kate.
Yeah, Jolene, the wind has picked up tremendously within the last 3 minutes here on Memorial and MacArthur, just west of Mercy Hospital. We're underneath a gas station, and check it out. No power for the last 30 minutes, and cars have been pulling in trying to avoid the storm. Some are actually braving it and leaving the gas station. I do want to warn you that there potentially could be down power lines and flooding, so you definitely want to be careful if you are driving in this area. Like I said, just 3 minutes, I would say, the wind has swept back in and the rain is starting to come down pretty hard in this area. Power has been out on MacArthur for the last 30 minutes. So things seem to be getting back to pretty bad right now. So you definitely want to stay inside and off the roads if you can.
All right, Kate, you take care of yourself out there.
Sounds like the wind's
young
taking her
lady.
breath away.
Boy, I know, it's something. Let's go back to Mike for an update on what's happening right now. Mike?
Well, the high wind has really definitely moved on down into the south Oklahoma City metro here as well. Norman now getting high winds, Moore getting high winds. And look at the surge here of the wind and the spray. Also, if you look at the area of rotation right here, kind of folding back over on itself. You can see how dynamic, look how dynamic this storm is. This is all very high wind here. McLeod, I-40, approaching the Shawnee Mall, Twin Lakes, Bethel Acres, Dale, the casino there, and then on the back of that, you've got a little area of rotation there by Luther. As it folds back on itself, it's essentially getting sucked into all this momentum of this inland hurricane, which is punching out to the southeast. Very, very dramatic, very dynamic, very powerful storm. These are high velocity winds coming in to, say that again? Let's go to Chris McBee with a large tree branch or a small tree uprooted. Chris?
Yeah, I've got a tree down blocking the road here on Northeast 27th, right in front of First Baptist Church in Moore. And the high winds are coming in right now. I'm in a pretty heavy vehicle, and I'm shaking around back and forth right here. I'm also seeing some power lines that are very much in danger of arcing in this area as well. So definitely tough travel through here. I wouldn't recommend anybody be out right now, Mike.
Okay, let's go to Aaron Brackett and the Interceptor. More damage there. Aaron?
Mike, this house is in danger right here. We've got power lines sparking, and they're not stopping. This is Rose State College, just off to the south and east, okay? So we're on Adair Boulevard, right by Air Depot, Adair and Air Depot, near Rose State. So someone needs to come take care of this. This thing is not stopped. That's right near a house. So hopefully the folks that are inside this house have evacuated and gotten out, because it's raining sparks right down in this house right now. So this is Midwest City area near Air Depot and Adair. just off the Rose State College campus. We've driven through lots of tree damage. There's trees all over the road. We had to kind of dodge in and out of them just to get to this location. But we saw lots of power flashes, fires, and right now we've got an active either transformer or a wire that's arcing right now and kind of raining showers of sparks on this house.
Yeah, the high winds are still persistent all in the Midwest City area. Let's go over to Max 1. We'll come right back to you, Aaron. This is over at near Rose State College. Arcing power lines. He'll give us the location once again here momentarily. Just to reiterate here, the high winds are still over Midwest City, Del City on down the Tinker Diagonal. Not moving a whole lot, so this has been an inland hurricane for this part of the metro now for a good 25 to 30 minutes. The highest measured wind that we have so far actually measured has been 87. 87's been the highest. We've been estimating that based on the velocities, 80 to 90 for quite some time, but we have a measured now of 87. So we're talking about the EF0, EF1 type tornado winds, but over a much longer period of time, over a much larger area. Just straight line winds, but an inland hurricane, 87 miles per hour. That high wind continues in Midwest City, centered very close to where Aaron Brackett is located. The highest winds appear to be in eastern and southeastern Midwest City over into Choctaw, I-40 Choctaw Road area. High wind also down through Moore, 50 to 60 in the Moore area, and pretty good wind, 45 to 50, even now down in parts of Norman. Pretty high wind, 45 to 50. A few localized areas a little higher down there, a little over 50 down in parts of Moore and Norman. So it's made it all the way down into the far south metro, really traversing the metro this evening from north to south. Aaron Brackett back near Rose State College. Aaron?
Okay, Mike, really good news. The sparking power lines have stopped, so either the power was cut to that area or it simply stopped arcing together. But that was over a minute that we were sitting there near Air Depot and Rose State College area, just north of Tinker, watching that, really that power line raining showers of sparks down on a house. It's not quitting, Mike. We're still getting severe wind gusts right now, and this has been over half an hour of basically sustained severe wind gusts. I don't know how there's power right here right now. I really don't. I mean, we've driven through many areas that do not have power. We're going north on Air Depot. I do not know how there's power on this street right now from the amount of power flashes we've seen, easily 24 since this whole thing started on the North Metro, probably more than that, and the power would come out and it would come right back. So still severe wind gusts right now in Midwest City. Folks, do not get out. There's going to be flooding even as the winds start to calm down. The flooding is going to get worse. It's going to get worse, and especially in spots that do not have power. You're not going to see those floodwaters. It's an incredibly dangerous storm. I mean, this is quite the storm. This is one of the top ones that we've seen in a long time, Mike.
Okay, Aaron Brackett there from near Rose State College in Midwest City. So highest measured wind is 87, but of course we've seen examples of that 80 to 85 to approaching 90 here for quite some time. So let's give you an update. Flash flood warning continues. Flash flood warning in effect, Oklahoma, Canadian counties, and severe thunderstorm warnings continue also. Let's go take Max 1 full. Still very large severe storm continues. See, the flooding is getting worse, and we have this continued development here on the northwest side of the storm feeding into the storm, which is intensifying the rainfall in Canadian County, El Reno, Yukon, Piedmont, down to Mustang. This entire area under flash flood warnings. Water is rising in virtually every location that is subjected to flooding in the metro right now. If you're out and about, hope you're at home safe where you want to be. If you are out, conditions are not going to improve anytime real soon. Flooding is going to be the elevating concern right on through the midnight hour and quite possibly beyond. We're talking still several more hours. Storm is so large, very, very slow to weaken. Now down into more heavy rain, high winds blowing spray and more. Very high winds in the Draper Lake area all the way down into Lake Thunderbird. Damaging wind reports from Eastmore down into northeast Norman with this. So now it's all the way down through Norman, and then high winds also down to Bethel Acres rather, and Twin Lakes and Dale and McLeod, all the way over into Tecumseh and very close to Shawnee and Pottawatomie County. Damaging winds there. There's your time of arrival on down to Noble at 10:27. Slaughterville at about 10:38. It's in the Stella Norman area right now. These are all damaging wind reports that are now coming in. Peak wind gust measured 87. Biggest hailstones are between Yukon and Mustang. A couple of areas of golf balls for you folks in Canadian County. Quarters, nickels, and some golf balls. Biggest hail there is on the northern side of Mustang coming into Mustang. So some pretty good size hail there and some high winds out in Canadian County. Most of this hail is dime and nickel size now. There's the center of the inland hurricane, east side of Midwest City, Choctaw, Hera. especially South Choctaw is where the highest wind is. On down across Draper Lake is where the highest winds are right now. Kevin and Jolene, join us from the anchor desk, guys.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. Also, we're going to have an update on some of the power outages. We're up to about 3,200 right now, and numbers are still rolling in on that. But here's a map of it, as you can see there.
Right, and when we say 3,200, that's 3,200 homes and businesses, not just, so you can kind of exponentially imagine how many people are affected by this. And unfortunately, we think those numbers will continue to go up. And Jolene, we've had some amazing video already come back to us, if we can see some of that.
Yes, this was about an hour ago. Those are 50 Penn Place. This is the city cam that we're watching this from, and this is just to the, I believe, north of that, and you can see those are substations. You see this one, and then I believe there is another one as well.
Now we're seeing some of the rain and wind being whipped along there by those hurricane force winds. Okay, we're getting an update now. 7,000 without power, homes and businesses without power right now.
And you can see all of the people parked underneath that gas station awning there trying to get out of the weather, out of the hail and rain.
Now this is what we were looking at from the interceptor.
Just about 10 minutes ago.
Right, Jolene, the arcing either transformer or wire, and it did that for about at least 10 minutes or so.
This is near Rose State.
Exactly.
A house there.
Air depot near Rose State College, exactly. And this is what's happening. These winds come through and damage these things, and they start to do this in some areas. Now, we understand it has since quit doing that, but that's what was happening when the interceptor showed up.
No, there's a lot of fear for whoever lives in that home, if they got out safely or if those sparks were actually, like Aaron said, raining sparks over the house there. Let's go to Aaron Brackett right now. Aaron?
Yeah, Julian, we did sit there and watch that for quite some time. The good news is it did stop, and we kind of waited a second to make sure that it was fully done. And we actually saw someone in that house opening the window and kind of looking out at us. We have some lights that assist us on the interceptor, so they likely saw us. But whoever's in that home appears to be safe right now. The house appeared to not start on fire, but what a scary situation that was. And, you know, if we saw that, there's likely many other cases of that happening all over the metro right now. So we're just we're west of Rose State College right now on I-40, still just getting wind whipped right now. There's driving spray. Visibility is pretty much next to zero. And there's still big-time problems out here. Semi-trucks continue to drive along this. So we're heading back toward Oklahoma City. We've noticed a bunch of spots that we wanted to stop and look at damage as we were following the storm. And we're going to go look at that and report back to you guys.
All right, Aaron, I just want to say something to you real quick. The interceptor rides pretty high. And when you guys were going through some of those neighborhoods, that water was coming up on you. So the flooding, like Mike has been saying, is really going to be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, this is a actual police interceptor, and that comes with a bunch of different features and packages that help protect us. But it's also been raised up several inches. It has, all-terrain, heavy-duty tires. And, I mean, it was just, we had to be incredibly careful out there. So, it's not something to mess around with. And especially areas that don't have power, you don't know how deep the water is. You don't know if the road is washed out. And with all these arcing power lines, when they touch the water, that electricity goes through it too. So you just got to stay away and let the professionals do their job. And guys, I got to tell you, there's a lot of cleanup to do around the city tonight.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to think of if you get out and about. Hopefully you don't, but as you mentioned, the water, you don't know how deep it is. Down power lines, there's a lot to consider. Thanks so much, Aaron. Be safe. Let's go back over to Mike Morgan. Mike.
Well, so the severe storm continues. Here are the warnings that we have right now. Oklahoma County, still a severe thunderstorm warning, a flash flood warning. Eastern Canadian, on down into northeastern Grady, and then most of Cleveland and northern and central McLean, all under severe thunderstorm warnings. As we've been indicating there, the baseball and the 80-mile-an-hour plus winds, that's sure confirmed. Of course, we also may have had quite likely a tornado earlier. If you're just now joining us, we can show you what Chris McBee was looking at. This was earlier. This was right around the 9 o'clock hour, and we'll get that video up for you. But we very much think we have the tornado as it came out of Logan County into far north Edmond at Waterloo Road. It would have been at about Broadway and Waterloo from Chris McBee. And when we get that, I'll let you know. But in the meantime, we'll show you radar here, what's going on right now. Those severe storms do continue. All the action is right here in central Oklahoma. Also an ongoing flash flood warning. That'll remain in effect well after midnight tonight. And there's more heavy rain still feeding into this entire complex of storms. So it's very slow to come down. See all this activity here developing and feeding into this massive complex of an inland hurricane is what this is. The main punch of the high wind is now heading over into Shawnee and Tecumseh, Pink and Little Axe, McLeod and Dale, and also down into Norman. Big gust of wind just came through Norman, down through Noble. Those are winds around 60 miles per hour, not as strong as Midwest City, and back up through the KFOR studios. 87-mile-an-hour winds reported in west central Oklahoma City. So the winds, it's fair to say the winds have been right up there around that 90-plus mile-per-hour range over a large area. John Slater estimated 80 here at the KFOR studios. Our building was swaying just a little bit, and this building is brand new, built like a tank. We can withstand an EF3 tornado. It was moving around a little bit, so you can just imagine. We empathize with you at home when the roar was coming through where you lived. That's what these winds were, 80, 85, 90. It's a scary thing for sure. Now, the wind has come down a lot in North Oklahoma City and Central Oklahoma City. The wind is still strong in the southern sides of town right here. This will continue. This is still the inland hurricane, very much in progress right here. Aaron Brackett's been reporting. Let me show you that video from earlier. Now, this is going to take you back here to about 9 o'clock. Look right there in the middle of your screen. See the power flash and then look up. See that? Look at that. See there? Funnel shape. See there? Right underneath that power flash, Chris McBee, our storm tracker right there. That is Broadway and Waterloo Road looking west. Right above that power flash, we very much think that was the Edmond tornado. That came out of Lake Liberty, Lake Guthrie, Navina, Seward, crossed Waterloo Road. That's basically very close to Oak Tree. And it's not live. That was at about 9 o'clock this evening. Chris McBee, our storm tracker, also our photojournalist here at KFOR, doing a fantastic job capturing the Edmond tornado right there. There apparently is a little bit of debris back up into Logan County from that particular tornado. Let's go back to Mike Bennett here live. Mike Bennett, where are you right now, and what do you see?
Okay, Mike, we're driving around looking for damage. We're at Northwest Highway and Council Road. Had one tree limb blown over, blocking part of the road. The big threat right now, Mike, is just flooded roads. That's, kind of subsiding a little bit because the heavy rain has dropped back to moderate rain, but we've seen a lot of curb-to-curb flooding in some areas. And I will tell you, Mike, Northwest Expressway, there's several traffic signals at some of the major intersections that are out. And so it's kind of a confusing situation in some of the intersections. Back to you.
Yeah, flood-prone areas, folks, are going to go into flood. They're going to stay in flood. They're in flood right now. Let's go back over to radar. Flash flood warning continues till after midnight tonight. So this is the South Metro here. This is Cleveland County, Pottawatomie County here, Shawnee, Tecumseh. Then you head on down Highway 9 through Norman, and there's more right there. These are 60-mile-an-hour winds that have been blowing for quite some time. The amazing thing about this storm is once the wind starts, it doesn't stop, right? It keeps going for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Amazing. So that's why we're going to have so many tree limbs down, so much debris in the road. You'll be dealing with that in addition to the power outages that we have right now. There's going to be debris pretty widespread in a lot of roads tomorrow morning. So you got to be really cautious. We really don't want you out and about tonight. Tomorrow morning, when you get things kind of settled, you're on your morning drive, there's going to be debris in the road. So you got to really watch out for that. And it's going to be quite widespread. Tree limbs, branches, some cases trees uprooted. There's some power poles that are bent over and down and things like that. Remember, always stay away from any potential of any power lines, dead or alive. We don't know whether they are dead or alive. There are power lines down in the metro, so it's a dangerous night out there. Got to exercise this caution right on through tomorrow morning till everybody can get things cleaned up. It's going to take some time with this one. The storm is ongoing here. There was your time for arrival. Here are some of the damaging wind and wind damage reports. Peak wind gust measured has been 87. There's been areas that have had about 90 or so, but it's, again, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes of damaging straight line wind. One of the higher end severe storms without a major tornado that we've seen. Now, the main threat flip forward here is still some hail. Hail is getting larger now. It's actually going back up in Mustang and southwest Oklahoma City. So this is going to be some larger hail in the southwest metro. Here's the north metro. The hail's over there. Still some moderate rain, though. The worst conditions now are in the west metro and the south metro. And there's that golf ball to still close to tennis ball size, getting larger again in Mustang down toward the airport down at Will Rogers. Talking about Fireworks City on down here toward OCCC. And down into far west Moore and southwest Oklahoma City. Good size hail redeveloping there. The inland hurricane is slowly winding down now, finally. Still severe, still quite severe, but not nearly as large or as high in severe, but still 60 to 70 down here on the Tinker Diagonal down into the Draper Lake area. 60, 65, close to 70, but the wind has come down a notch or two there, so that's good news. Those colors now getting smaller and getting less hot as that inland hurricane gradually winds down in the southeast metro here. But again, highest wind measured so far has been 87 and widespread 60 to 65 down here in Moore, 60 down around Norman. Still very, very windy. All this wind has to still drain out of the main storm. So the wind is still going to be up for quite a long time down in Moore and Norman as the storm perhaps slowly weakens, but has to drain all this energy out of it. And the wind just keeps blowing and blowing. And that's what's going on right now. Flooding threat continues to climb, though, especially in the west metro and the central and the south metro. But the wind effect in the central and north metro has come down quite a bit. So here's the rain situation. Rainfall totals, a lot of folks have over 2 inches now and climbing. And with the rain continuing to feed in, we're going to see some very high amounts going forward. There's your time of arrival for you folks down to the southeast as the storm heads your way. We're talking about Cleveland County and Pottawatomie County, Brooksville, Romulus, through the pink area right now, Shawnee, Tecumseh, as it continues to move on down into Cleveland County and Pottawatomie County. Here's that bigger hail around Mustang. So this is going to be heading back into parts of Norman, and then on down toward Washington and Goldsby and Kreiner and Cole and Dibble and Blanchard. The back part of this storm here, hail-wise, is the most intense part of the storm, hail-wise, around Mustang. And some of that hail's bigger than golf ball now coming into Will Rogers World Airport. Another reason for the flash flood warning is storms continue to form to the northwest, feed into the main storm, which will be an effect that will likely go on for quite some time. We're talking about many hours going forward, so this will just keep adding to the rainfall totals. Wouldn't be impossible if we get some totals over 4 to 5 inches in the metro, and a lot of folks already have over 2, so we're already well on our way to having a widespread problem here with flooding. So let's go back over to our team of trackers, check in with them, start you off here with Aaron Brackett down in the southeast part of the metro.
Yeah, Mike, right now we're right by the zoo. We're at a Phillips 66. That's right off I-35, right by the zoo. Power's out here, first of all. And second of all, we've got the Circle K sign. The top part of that is actually laying on the ground. It's been blown off. So one of many areas of damage here across especially the east and northeast sides of town. And, yeah, power out for many, many people. I'd be willing to throw a gamble that OG&E power outage number is just going to continue to climb as substations and transformers are assessed and the system kind of updates. So there's a piece of the sign that you can see right there. This is the access road off of I-35 right near the zoo. So, again, as you were talking about earlier, you know, folks that are out early tomorrow morning, there's going to be little things like this all over the place that are going to cause potential damage to your vehicle and things that you need to look out for. We're going a little bit farther south on I-35. There is a car that's stuck in one of the low-lying areas where water is accumulated on I-35. Mark Diller's telling me it's underneath 23rd Street, so there's a big backup heading northbound on I-35 because of that. So we're going to head over there and get you a look at that. Just one of the many areas that are in flood right now and causing major problems and major backups across the city. Mike?
Okay, from Aaron Brackett to Chris McBee. Chris, where are you located? Earlier you went from KFOR down to near downtown. Where are you now?
I am on just east of I-35. Basically blinding rainfall right now. I'm going to try to get over to the west side of Moore with that hail that's moving in out of Mustang just to get a better idea of what that's looking like. But, yeah, it's still very severe weather here, very frequent lightning, flooding rainfall. It's just not letting up, Mike. It's very strong winds as well. So just not Back to you.
Okay. Chris, if you can, describe to us the flooding in the flood-prone areas. How much deep water have you seen in some of those flood-prone areas?
Not too much, honestly. I just stopped
Okay.
road on Indian Hills. Bear with me just.
Kind of tough on the phone reception because for multiple reasons, one of which being the big storm. Let's go back over to radar here. We'll check in with Jeremy Carter and Mike Bennett coming up next. So here's the broad view. So the most wind is down here in the southeast metro. The biggest hail is right down over the airport. Will Rogers coming out of Mustang. Let's go over to Mike Bennett now. Mike, where are you located? What have you seen?
Okay, Mike, just a little out of breath. We came across a road sign that was blown across the highway, or Northwest Expressway at Kilpatrick Turnpike, and it would have definitely caused an accident and blown about 4 tires out. I almost hit it myself. But anyway, we got it out of the road, made it open. A lot of street flooding. We're kind of heading back up Northwest Highway as these storms start training back here, and we're probably going to encounter some more flooding between here and Okarche, Mike.
Okay, so you are located where right now, Mike?
Right now, we're at Northwest Expressway in Kilpatrick.
And you're heading out toward Okarche, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. And here we are, another traffic signal. And Mike, on Northwest Expressway, there's sporadic power outages in different areas. We're in around Bethany and Wiley Post Airport, and there's some sporadic power outages, but there's a lot of traffic lights that are not operational. They're not on fail-safe. They're completely blacked out. So everybody, when you come up on these intersections, it's a little confusing. Just take the time, be courteous, and take your turn going through the intersection.
Okay,
a lot of the major ones on Northwest Expressway, Mike.
Okay, that's Mike Bennett, Northwest Expressway, heading up Highway 3 there through Piedmont and Okarche here momentarily. Let's go back over to radar, kind of give you an overview here if you're just now joining us. Conditions are improving a bit in the North Metro. We still have this activity feeding in all the way out to Watonga now, feeding down through Kingfisher and Okarche and Piedmont. There's areas of hail in that, some dime size and nickel size. That's feeding into the main complex of storms. And the highest winds are still down here around Lake Draper and on down towards Shawnee and Tecumseh. And the biggest hail is over Will Rogers right now, southwest Oklahoma City. So the heaviest rainfall is in the southern sides of the metro now, either side of 89th Street, all the way down into about the northern half of Cleveland County. There's the motion over the past 30 minutes. This is 30 minutes of motion. If you can just kind of use your imagination, look all the eddies, all the wind eddies that are inside the precipitation. See all that motion going on? That's because of the inland hurricane effect that this has had. Plus the updraft is taking that outflow and trying to spin it as it goes up. So you see all those eddies of motion inside the precipitation. Really remarkable. Aaron Brackett in the Interceptor right here with more damage. Aaron?
Well, this is some flooding northbound I-35 at 23rd Street. This is some pretty serious flooding underneath here. And as you can see, somebody didn't make it. So there's a car stalled out there. And many folks just trying to attempt it. We've seen many that I can't believe made through it. And there's going to be a next if this keeps up, because this water's a couple feet deep right here. And, it doesn't take much sometimes to get water in the intake, or if it just gets too deep, it gets stalled out. So we're going to get a little better shot of this here. Folks need to avoid this area. It's also flooded out heading southbound. So both parts of I-35 right near 23rd Street, you don't want to be near this area as, water continues to kind of rush and accumulate in this part of the highway. So big time problems right here, and the water moving a little bit too. So there is a little bit of a current to it. Folks really need to avoid this area.
So Aaron, again, that is North 23rd and I-35. Is that right?
This is on I-35 heading northbound at the 23rd exit. So the bridge right there is 23rd Street, and this is underneath it. There's a little bit of a dip in I-35. So that vehicle that you see right out in front of us, it didn't make it. Waters have receded a little bit right now, but it's still quite a serious problem. Heading southbound, too, there is almost an equal amount of flooding. So that is a smaller vehicle right there, but we're seeing other vehicles. It looks like somebody else just got kind of stalled out on the right-hand shoulder on the northbound side there, too. So it doesn't take much. Folks really need to just not try to drive through this stuff. Just give it some time, find an alternate route. You can head on the side road right there. We got around it just fine by doing that. There's really no reason to be doing this. Yep, looks like somebody just stalled out going southbound too. So northbound and southbound I-35 at 23rd Street. I mean, just consider it closed right now, Mike.
23rd I-35 right there from the Interceptor and Aaron Brackett and Mark Dillard. Flash flood warning does continue. Let's go back over to radar, and it's fair to say that it's just kind of painfully slowly winding down, but it's not going to go away anytime real soon in terms of some scattered areas of wind, some wind damage, and some occasional areas of damaging hail. The highest winds are likely over. As far as that's all concerned, the biggest hail is probably over as well, but the flooding is not over yet, and it may still get worse before it gets better. So take that into account. Flood-prone areas are in flood or are in flood currently. So we have currently heavy rain, severe storms down by the airport in Mustang, and high winds and some hail, but not as big, down over the southeast side of the metro here. Look how the whole thing's kind of crawling around there. The updraft there trying to take that and stretch it on up and make some rotation out of it, but it can't do that anymore because it's too cool and too heavy, and the updraft just can't lift it up like it did earlier with that tornado that came out of Logan County into the Oak Tree area. Showed that to you a little while ago. So here's Cleveland County. And then here is down into Pottawatomie County. So this is still quite a bit of wind here, a lot of 60 here, and it just keeps going and going and blowing and blowing. The whole storm is very, very slow to wind down. There's your time of arrival there. Bethel Acres, Lexington, Tribby, Truesdale, 11:18, talking about Pottawatomie County down here by St. Louis, and then on down into the Lexington area near Purcell. The wind gust has already hit you down there, right? You already know that. The wind has hit you. So the winds have come out of the north at 30 to 40 miles per hour plus, kind of timing the heavy rain, and higher winds embedded in the heavy rain with the downdraft coming in. That's the timing of that. But the gust front has already made it all the way down to Purcell and Lexington. Keep in mind, this storm started out north of Perry, so it's already traveled about 75 to 80 miles, 90 miles, and it's still slowly crawling through the south metro here. The backside of this has a little bit bigger hail. There's your time of arrival. Norman, 10:32. It's currently 10:30, so it's coming into the north side of Norman right now. And then Noble at 10:47, and Washington, Cole, Dibble, Kreiner, Lexington, Purcell, around 11 to 11:10, so we're talking 30 to 40 minutes from right now. There are the hail sizes. Nothing's really too big and bad except for this one area near Will Rogers Airport. Even that hail size has come down. It was a solid golf ball earlier. Now it's nickels and perhaps up to a smaller quarter size, very close to Will Rogers Airport. Moving into Westmore, it's all in southwest Oklahoma City right now, near OCCC, and then traveling on down toward the Moore area. Dime, nickel, maybe a couple of quarters, but as you can see there, that hail size, at least right now, let's hope it stays that way, is coming down. So it's not as big as it was even 15 minutes ago. Pockets of hail up Northwest Highway, all the way back to Watonga, some dimes and nickels in through here. These are traveling to the southeast. They're feeding into what's left of this giant severe storm. Notice the wind field here continues to diminish, so the colors are getting less hot and over a smaller area. So the whole storm's kind of exhaling and winding very, very slowly winding down. But you see the colors there, not as hot over nearly as big an area. So the wind speeds are also coming down through the entire storm. Still very, very windy outside, and it'll stay windy for quite some time. But the peak strength of the storm has definitely come down some. So we've had some power outages. I'll tell you what, since you're still with us, and we're glad that you are, let's show you some of the things that have happened this evening. And I'm going to kind of give the control room time to get these queued up. We had this transformer. We went to this camera because we knew the high winds were up here by 50 Penn. You're looking up Northwest Highway here from 50 Penn. So you're looking up past Pennsylvania, up past Rockwell and MacArthur, up there around 63rd Street and the Lake Hefner Golf Course. And that one substation looked like it was on fire. It went out, and then the next one down the line went up, and then still a third one went up right after that as the high wind and the power outage kind of traveled down the line up there just southwest of Lake Hefner, up there by Rockwell and 63rd up toward about 75th Street up there in northwest Oklahoma City. And this was earlier showing some of the power outages from the Interceptor and also from Chris McBee. We had about 80-mile-an-hour winds here at KFOR. We had things swaying around here at the KFOR studios, along with a lot of other folks here. And then we also had some arcing power lines from Aaron Brackett and Mark Dillard on the Interceptor down by Rose State College. And this light show here with arcing power lines and a short went on for quite some time over this house up there in Midwest City when the very high winds went sweeping through Midwest City and Del City. And then here is the tornado right here. Look above the power flash at the ground. You're looking west. Down Waterloo Road. Can you see the funnel up there, right? Just above the power flash, well-defined funnel. That is the tornado that came out of Lake Liberty and Lake Guthrie, crossed Waterloo Road right there. It's technically going into Oklahoma County right there. Let's go to Peyton Yeager out in this tonight live. Peyton?
Hey, Mike, I'm in Norman, right off of I-35 in Tecumseh here underneath an on-cue gas station. The storm, like you said, just hitting Norman. This rain just picking up, going almost sideways. Now, the lightning show that you imagine, you've been talking about it in Edmond and the city, and we were wondering when it was going to come to us, and it's really picking up here in Norman and Cleveland County. These people underneath this on-cue, Jordan, right here, we have this father and daughter taking shelter, keeping it safe, playing it safe, but the rain just picking up here in Norman, right off of I-35 in Tecumseh. The lightning is pretty incredible, and those winds that you were talking about, we're now getting a feeling of those winds here in Norman and Cleveland County, but we'll be sure to keep you updated. We're going to send it back to you.
About 60 miles an hour measured down there, Peyton, just a very short while ago. Hey, this is a movie right here. Check this out. This began at about 7:30. This is most of the event. The storm formed up north of Noble County, up by Perry, came right down through Guthrie, right here, merged with the storm out at Piedmont, and then look at the gust front that comes surging out from it. Look for the little green-blue line. See that? You can see how it just goes like this. Inland hurricane, had all that wind, then it all downbursted right over Oklahoma City. That's why we had a tremendous area that was covered by high-velocity winds. 75, 80, 85, near 90 miles per hour. We have a measured wind of 87, so it's at least 87, but likely a lot of folks had about 90-mile-an-hour winds. That's basically the entire event, and we had at least, looks like 2 tornadoes, one up by Mulhall, Kevin and Jolene up in northern Logan County, and a tornado actually tracked from southwest Guthrie, as we saw that video from Chris McBee, across Waterloo Road at Broadway, right there. That's the tornado in progress. Chris McBee, our storm tracker, doing a phenomenal job right there capturing that. Let me tell you, this was a tough storm to track. And this was as it was coming across into Oklahoma County out of Logan County. That's the tornado on the ground right there. It lifted just after it passed Waterloo Road. And you're looking westbound down Waterloo Road right there, coming into the Oak Tree area, guys. So really remarkable. Flash flood warning does continue till the overnight hours tonight.
All right, Mike, and we're looking at that flash flood effect right there at Northeast 23rd and I-35, a typical low spot. Also, Mike, we have emergency crews working very rapidly at Lake Overholser.
Well, our crews are headed there right now. This is Northwest 10th and North County Line Road, Lake Overholser. At least one person trapped below the dam there. We know a dive team is working that scene to try to rescue that person.
Yeah, let's talk about power outages. Last we heard, OG&E 7,000. Is that correct, Courtney? That's the last. Oh, thank you. 7,000. 22,000 now. She just got updated. 22,000 homes and businesses, OG&E out of power. Also in the rural areas.
Yeah, about 1,000 in the rural area too. But something else. House fires. I know we watched one that was really close. Aaron Brackett had video of that. But so far, the Oklahoma City Fire Department has responded to 3 house fires that they have been working. 2 water assists. This is vehicles in the water, and we saw a couple of those. I don't know if that number's included with these numbers the fire department just gave us, but Aaron Brackett once again had a couple of cars stalled in the water.
And he does, I guess those cars are still there, Aaron, or some are just waiting till it goes down, huh?
Yeah, they're still there. There's actually 3 vehicles that I can see right now. The one that's closest to me right here, this red car, the driver is okay. We checked on him, and he's gotten out of the vehicle. He's got the hood up. It's really hard to start a flooded car again. I'm guessing he's hoping for a tow at this point. But folks continue to kind of take their chances and drive through. This is on the east side of town, northeast side of town, I-35. This is looking at the northbound lanes. So the tractor trailers, the semis are making it through. Some of the smaller cars are certainly not. That's heading northbound, and then also on southbound, you can see Mark Dillard out there getting some more video of the situation. This is looking southbound. You can still see lots of water, pretty deep right there, and then there's another stalled out vehicle a little bit farther down that you can see, blocking the road. So there's a huge traffic backup here. Folks need to take the side road. They need to get off before 23rd, take the side service road, and get around this instead of trying to chance it through here. The rain has let up a little bit, but the flood water's not coming down too much right now. There's still a lot of water that could be draining into this area, so it's best to just find an alternate route. Back to you guys.
Is it still raining at your location, Aaron? Still building on that flooding?
It's raining lightly. It was an absolute hurricane. We were kind of following along with this thing for a while, and this word hurricane that we're talking about tonight, I don't really know a much better way to describe it than to say just that, because it wasn't just, a typical 2 to 3 minute blast of wind sometimes you get with the squall lines, but it's also, it continued in some areas for 20 to almost 30 minutes of the severe wind. So there's going to be a lot of damage out here. Infrastructure, trees, power lines, all that stuff didn't just have a couple minutes of wind. It was a lot longer than that. So this was quite the storm, guys, and still some lasting effects going to be felt all the way into the morning.
All right, Aaron. We appreciate your report. And let's go back to Mike for the very latest on the storm situation. It looks like it was heading into Cleveland County. OU students there, Mike.
Yeah, that's right. And I tell you, there's still a fair amount of hail down here. The western edge of this is intensifying a fair amount, so that's all going to feed into more in Norman. So, yes, Cleveland County, it's going to be getting worse before it gets better. Peyton Yeager was talking about that a short while ago. New warning out here for southwestern Kingfisher. The problem with all this is we had some of the most unstable air today that I've ever seen. We were looking at the weather charts back here, and I can count on one hand over a long time where I've only seen weather as unstable as it is out there earlier this afternoon. So now we're getting all that energy used up in the form of this giant severe weather event. Heaviest rain gauge totals, been looking at those. We've got a couple of folks that have got 3.5 out here around the village. 3.5, a lot of 2.5 to 3s. That's so far, so the flash flood warning continues, but some 2.5 to 3.5 inch totals. And there's the South Metro right there. Time of arrival on down toward Washington. Coming up here just very shortly. Goolsby in the Norman, Newcastle area right now. And it's going to be getting worse before it gets better for you folks in Norman. The wind may actually pick up a fair amount as well, and the hail sizes may get bigger as well. Here's the one down here, the original gust of wind heading down into Pottawatomie County, and there's central Oklahoma City. The highest wind has really come down quite a bit. The colors there are getting softer over a smaller area, so the high winds are coming down. The hail sizes, a lot of dime, nickel, and quarter, and a couple of golf balls out there west of Minco, between Minco and Cogar, coming into northern Grady County. Down around Highway, out there not too far from Minco and Tuttle and Highway 81 and south of Union City. So pockets of hail, nickel, dime, couple of quarters there, and a couple of hailstones up there near the Okarche area, also Calumet. So here's the South Metro, some small hail. That hail size continues to get smaller, tracking that for the Moore area, OCCC. So those hailstones now are down to about dime and a couple of nickels there, mostly just dimes. So there's the South and the Southwest Metro. So it's going to take quite a while for this to wind down, so the flash flood warning will continue in effect, especially with these new storms feeding in from the northwest. Again, here's the South Metro, and there's your time of arrival, gradually down into the Blanchard area, Kreiner, Cole, Goolsby, Noble, Washington. It's in the Newcastle, Norman area right now. Going to get some hail down in Norman. Flooding is going to become a problem in Norman here going forward. A lot of water heading your way, so flood warnings continue. Definite trend and a focus and a shift into the south and the southwest metro for hail, some wind, and flooding rainfall going forward. There's the activity down in Pottawatomie County, moving to the southeast. Here's the Cleveland County area here. There's Midwest City. Weather's improved a lot in Midwest City. Here's the South Metro, light to moderate rain in South Oklahoma City. As you can see, all the action is down in Cleveland County now. Here's Central Oklahoma City. We'll have periods in passing areas of thunderstorms into the nighttime hours, but it looks very much like this heavy rain is going to be concentrating on the west and the southern sides of the metro during the overnight hours. Now it's almost 10:45, so flash flood warnings are going to remain in effect. There's the broad view of the metro showing the continued area of heavy rain, especially in the south and the southwest metro, and also feeding in from northern Canadian County and Kingfisher County. Let's check back with our storm trackers here. Who do we have? Aaron Brackett, perhaps. Kevin Josephy. Let's go to Kevin.
Yeah, Mike, I'm up here at the intersection of Coltrane and Waterloo at the gas station. It's on the west side of that intersection. I had reports of building damage up here, and this is what I found. And after talking with locals in the area, this is the most significant damage that they've heard of. It's just the awning of this building, big headache for the owners here, but luckily that's the only damage I've seen so far. I've seen the indicative leaves all over the ground from the hail that knocked it down earlier. A little bit of small little bit of flooding when you're coming up Coltrane headed to Waterloo, just north of Danforth. Ponding, definitely, a problem out here with all the rain coming down. But in this northern section, it's kind of in the metro area, it's slowing down a little bit. Its conditions are improving. But, we did have all those strong winds come through. So if you get out and about, you may encounter some power lines down or low-hanging ones over the road. Be sure to call OG&E or police. Report that when you see it. And also, call us. Let us know where that is so we can help officials also find that damage or power lines down, and we can help get this stuff repaired. But that's what I'm encountering right out here, Mike. Just a little bit of light to moderate rain every so often. But down to the south is a different story. But up here in the northern side of the metro, Mike, kind of winding down a little bit. Back to you.
Great information, Kevin. That was really great. Appreciate that a lot. So the focus is in the south metro, the southwest metro now. Ongoing flash flood warnings. Rain gauge totals, the highest amounts are about 3.5 inches and still climbing in west central Oklahoma City. And we're getting some amounts now that are 1.5 inches to 2 inches in southern and southwestern Oklahoma City. Let's go back over to Aaron Brackett in the Interceptor, ongoing here covering these storms. Aaron? Aaron Brackett and Mark Dillard in the Interceptor tonight, guys. So we're traveling here in the Interceptor. Let's go to Chris McBee here. Chris?
Yeah, Mike, I don't know how well you can see it in my stream right now. Oklahoma City police are blocking a section of Southwest 134th, just west of Santa Fe, due to a power pole that is leaning. They're afraid it's going to fall across the road, across Southwest 134th. I've got it in my shot right now. I don't know how well you can see it because it is absolutely pouring rain, and the lights from the police car are kind of interfering with that, but you can see it leaning across the road, and they're concerned it's going to fall across the road, so we don't want that. So Southwest 134th west of Santa Fe is closed at this time, Mike.
Southwest 134th Santa Fe, is that right?
Yes, a section of 134th just west of Santa Fe due to a hazardous power pole situation, yes.
Okay, that's Chris McBee there. Ongoing severe weather in that part of the metro. Let's give you an overview here, and then we'll check back with Kevin and Jolene and our team of reporters there from the anchor desk, kind of give you an overview here. So Logan County's in pretty good shape here. Heavy storms, some severe in Kingfisher County, Calumet, Okarche, back to Watonga, generally traveling down Northwest Passage. Pockets of hail there. Flood warnings continue for Oklahoma City, Oklahoma County, and also Cleveland, northern Cleveland, and southern and eastern Canadian. Flash flood warnings. Far northern Grady County. Largest hail now is down around Minco, Tuttle, and Cogar, over to West Moore, down to Newcastle. Biggest hail there. A lot of dimes and nickels there, but flooding rainfall, torrential rain continues. Some rain gauges 2 inches now and climbing in that part of the metro, zooming in there to the south metro. But notice how the rain is tapered off pretty nicely. That's a very good thing now for Edmond and central Oklahoma City. Rain is just kind of sporadic and light to moderate. Not a big problem. Storms, though, do continue. These continue severe down in Newcastle, down in Norman. There's Norman right there. Still very windy down here. We've lost a lot of that inland hurricane effect, but there's a lot of gusty 40 and 50 and 55 mile-an-hour winds down here. Peyton Yeager was down in Norman reporting the winds were coming up a short while ago down in Norman. There's your time of arrival, the leading edge of the storms down around Slaughterville and Lexington and Pottawatomie County. Look at the gust front, that green-blue line surging out. That was the giant burst of wind from the inland hurricane. You can see it's traveling well beyond the showers and thunderstorms right now, and the winds with that are 40 and 45 and 50 miles per hour. So the wind is high all the way down into Chickasha. Plenty of gusty winds all the way down in through there. Notice a few storms are going up down around Ninnekah and Cement. in Rush Springs right now. Those are not severe, but they're interacting with that outflow. See that big old outflow, that blue line there rushing on out? There's a time of arrival of some of the heavier rain, the pockets of hail in McLean and Cleveland counties there. And there is the hail sizes for you. The only very large hail's out on the west side of Minco, and a little bit of hail there about nickel size near Tuttle, and some dimes and a couple of nickels from Okarche back to about Watonga. Elsewhere, it's mainly just rain that is left over. So, Jolene and Kevin, basically, the storm is continuing to gradually weaken, but it's doing it painfully slowly. The one big thing that has come down has been the widespread inland hurricane force winds over a large area. Still pockets of some hail, and there are still some 60 and 65-mile-an-hour winds out there, but it's weakening slowly in the south and west metro. The flooding is still the ongoing threat.
We'll take any good news we can get on this monster, my friend. Thank you. Great job tonight. And we'll be checking back with Mike in just a moment. We've had a lot of video.
Oh, we have an update, too, on power outages. 37,000 people right now are households without power. We're looking at a map there of some of it.
And you see most of it, it looks like it's right there in the central area of that. It just jumped to 40,000.
Just jumped to 40,000.
That's what that represents. That's a lot.
2,500 in Bethany?
Yeah, it's about 3.2 people per unit, just based on the average size of a family and such. So that's over 100,000 people that's actually affecting. Wow. Yeah, it's a lot of folks.
And 16,000 of those are in Oklahoma City. Those areas, so you times that by 3 and you get an idea of how many people are dealing without power just in the Oklahoma City area. So that's what's happening right now energy-wise. And let's show you what we've been seeing tonight from our crews out on the scene.
Yeah, this is from a couple of hours ago, which most likely what caused a lot of these power outages. That is a substation, a couple of them that were hit by lightning.
Yeah, that's from our 50 pin
hit by lightning or the wind.
Right, exactly. And it stayed lit for a long time out there. And you see look at that.
That's Midwest City. A lot of people there taking cover under the gas station awnings, which we saw all across the metro. And Peyton was down in Norman. You saw that. That's where she was as well. And Rose State. This one is incredible.
Yeah, it's near Air Depot and Rose State College. Actually, my grandparents used to live in that area in Midwest City, so I'm kind of familiar with it. But that is a sparking either line or transformer that keeps arcing. And like Jolene said earlier, the biggest concern besides a power outage was the house there.
Yeah, Aaron pulled up on that, Aaron and Mark Dillard. And there was somebody in the house. There's obviously no power, so headlights from our Interceptor 4 kind of lightened up the house there, and they saw someone looking out the window. So I don't know if they knew what was happening right near them or what danger they were in.
But I think they alerted him to that. And this is, you see the funnel there. Mike's been talking about this tonight. When you get that power flash, you see the outline of a funnel at Broadway and Waterloo, north of Edmond. That's actually right on the...
Just on the left of this,
right there,
middle left.
On the Oklahoma and Logan County line.
Okay, let's go to Peyton Yeager right now. She is in Norman with the latest there, and that's where everything is headed your way, Peyton.
Oh boy, it's there.
It's here, guys. It's here. You've been talking about Edmond and coming through the city, and now we're here in Norman and Cleveland County where it's really picking up. We're getting a taste of the storm y'all have been talking about. If Jordan zooms in over by this on-cue, we're right off of I-35 in Tecumseh, this on-cue, Phillips 66. You can see how much this storm has picking up, going sideways. Thunder, the lightning, all of these people underneath this awning right now. We've seen it getting more crowded underneath this awning as people take cover. Very smart. Not a good idea to be on the road at this time. I'm here in Norman and Cleveland County, like Mike Morgan said. Flooding, a big issue right now as it comes into Cleveland County. Woo! It's taking my breath away right now. I can barely breathe because it's coming underneath this awning and going sideways. It's really a clear picture over by that sign where the gas prices are and the on-cue in Phillips 66. So the storm, we're feeling it right now in Norman, and we'll keep y'all updated. We'll send it back to you.
All right, you guys stay careful out there, and it is coming in sideways. And the city of Norman gained about 25,000 in population not too long ago because all the students went back to the University of Oklahoma. So they've got to be wondering that this is a heck of a way to go back to school.
I bet. Yeah. We got some new video just coming into our newsroom. This is Regency Tower. This is downtown, and watch and you'll see all of the power go out.
Takes a little bit, but they get power hit, and then you'll see the lights begin. There it is.
It flickers a moment, and then boom.
Wow. Northwest 6th and Hudson. You are familiar, I'm sure that's a video courtesy of Brian Bates. You're familiar, I bet, with Regency Tower if you've been downtown. We're going to show it to you again. The lights didn't all of a sudden just come back on. But I believe this is the same video re-queued, so you can see it again. Right here, Jolene.
Waiting for it, and the
There it
lights
goes.
go out. Again, about 37,000 households right now without power.
Right, and Mike's saying, well,
40,000.
Mike's saying that's about 120,000 people when you look at it that way.
So a lot of people dealing with power outages right now, a lot of stalled vehicles, damage, and a water rescue that's underway right now. We do have a crew on the way there. That's at Lake Overholser.
And let's go back to Chris McBee real quick, our storm chaser and tracker. Chris.
Yeah, guys, I'm at 4th and Telephone and Moore. All the neighborhoods to the west of the Moore Warren Theater are totally without power. The traffic lights here at this intersection are without power. That always causes a headache, you know, for traffic and everything. Large sections of Moore now would look to be without power at this time, as well as many other parts, you know, of the metro area. But yeah, this definitely, the winds that came through here were very significant, and luckily the winds have come down a bit, but a lot of people are without power. There's going to be a lot to clean up tonight, guys.
And that area, Jolene, just west of the Warren Theater, of course.
Yes, I'm sure you recognize that 7-Eleven there.
Yeah, they've been through the heartache of very, very severe weather before, where tragically lives were lost in that area. Tonight, they're without power, and we're thinking about them and everybody else dealing with that. Mike Morgan.
Well, at this point, I'm thinking about tomorrow's forecast, and I'm kind of really glad to say that the high might be about 79 because a lot of folks aren't going to have power.
Yeah.
They're not watching us right now, right?
So they don't have aircon.
They don't have aircon,
Yeah.
right. The heat index today was 115. It was 115, the heat index earlier today. A lot of folks can't see us unless they're listening to us maybe on a battery-operated radio. They don't have air conditioning. Tomorrow will not be as hot, and that's a really good thing, isn't it? Because the OG&E guys and the rural electric co-op guys, man, they do a great job, and they have their work cut out for them. They're pros here. They do it as well or better than anybody else because of all the weather that we have, but the weather will not be as hot tomorrow. Heat index today was 115, and of course, this was the result. Extremely powerful, severe storms. If you're watching us earlier, they were in the forecast at 4 o'clock, and even earlier in the day, we talked all about it. And yes, it came through right as advertised and just clocked the metro. Winds of about 90. We've had, looks like 2 tornadoes. One actually came into North Edmond. Temperature now is 70 with thunderstorms. It's still at this 11 o'clock hour. Well, it is 90 in Lawton and 90 in Altus, but it's in the mid-70s in northwest Oklahoma. The front is through with the storms, and this will bring a nice change for us the next several days. Here are the current warnings. The South Metro, also Southwest Kingfisher, Northern Canadian. So severe thunderstorm warnings. There are no tornado warnings. Don't anticipate any going forward. The watch is in effect until midnight tonight. It could be potentially extended a little bit deeper into the overnight hours. The main threat will be localized flooding going forward. We will likely not have widespread 90-mile-per-hour winds going forward as the complex of storms is weakening in the South Metro right now. Here's the Metro, the overview. Severe storm out west of Okarche, severe storms Pocasset, Amber, Minco, Tuttle. Right along the river, Union City, Mustang, heading down into Norman, on down to Goldsby. Severe storms there, and quite a bit of wind going through Tecumseh right now, down to St. Louis, Maud, and Tribby, down in Pottawatomie County. The North Metro, dry, occasional areas of thunder coming back in. There might still be a little bit of small hail coming into the west and North Metro tonight, but the main threat's going to be flooding rainfall in the south and the southwest Metro. That'd be the Mustang, Minco, Tuttle, Newcastle, Moore, Norman area going forward, as these are very slow to wind down. The peak winds right now locally are about 65 to 70. 65-ish down here in McLean and Cleveland County and parts of northern Grady County, and the hail sizes will show those to you. But the storm continues to slowly weaken. It's been a painfully slow process. It had so much energy to work with today. It's taking a long time for it to wind down. There's the time of arrival of the rain all the way down into Pottawatomie and Cleveland counties. And for you folks in the west-southwest side of the Moore-Norman area, there's your time of arrival as well. The gust front is all the way down to Pauls Valley now. The storm began up north of Perry. The gust front now is all the way down to Pauls Valley as the whole thing downbursted and exhaled and all the wind came out of the storm. Still some nickel and quarters west of Okarche and some pretty good size hail. Some nickel to quarter size in the Minco Tuttle area right now. That's some of the larger hail, some small hail scattered around in Norman right now, maybe a couple of peas and shot size hail in Moore, but nothing major there as far as hail. And these will continue to be up and down again severe for the next several hours, especially in the south and southwest metro. That's also where the heaviest rainfall is going to be. The wind is still very breezy out there. Still a lot of breezy wind, but no 80 or 90 and no 70 either for that matter. A lot of 50 to 55 to a couple of local areas of 60 in the south metro right now. And those are all the wind damage reports. The highest measured wind was 87 miles an hour today. We had at least 80 here at the KFOR studios with spray, sideways spray, and some wind damage as well. So these will continue to be occasionally severe in the south metro as they move on down into Grady County, McLean County, and Cleveland County over the next several hours. The North Metro, sporadic areas of lightning and thunder for a while, and these are going to feed down into the West Metro out of Kingfisher and Canadian County. So the flooding threat's going to continue, especially again in the West and the South Metro area. Rainfall totals, there are some rain gauges that are almost to 4 inches now in west central Oklahoma City, and there's also some totals up in the 4-inch range up by Okarche, not too far from Piedmont, and there's some 2-inch plus totals now down near the airport down in southwest Oklahoma City. So here's future track tonight, overnight tonight. You see in the morning, heavy to occasionally some severe weather overnight, making its way down to Lawton, down to Marlow and Duncan and Rush Springs, on down to Ardmore, and then 78 for a high tomorrow. Again, a lot of folks won't have power tomorrow, so that's a blessing. Not 98 degrees like it was today, but 78, and also a lot of shade tomorrow. Best chance of rain will be overnight tonight in the metro, 80 to 100%. There's the metro forecast overnight. That's a moderate, and that's a high probability of ongoing storms and rain there. And there are your lows by tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning, upper 60s to middle 70s. And morning storms will wind down pretty quickly. The rest of the day mostly cloudy in Oklahoma City, and it'll be a low to a moderate to a high chance of ongoing showers and thunderstorms tomorrow. Most of that will be down in southwestern Oklahoma Tuesday afternoon. And there are your highs, upper 70s in the metro, upper 70s and low 80s elsewhere. So a wind coming in from the northeast. It'll be a milder day. Here's your 7-day plus 4. 80% tonight, 60% for a little while tomorrow morning. Morning drive could be wet. Watch out for debris in the roads tomorrow morning. There's going to be a lot of it. And then a lower rain chance down to 20 to 30% by afternoon. A mostly cloudy day in 78. And a beautiful day on Wednesday. A little taste of fall here. Lows down to 62. Again, folks who still may not have power here on Wednesday and Thursday morning. Low 60s for lows and middle to upper 80s for highs. The weekend, Friday 87, Saturday 89, Sunday 88. Storm chances pick up a little bit on Saturday. Then we kind of get hot again, upper 80s and low and a few mid-90s all the way out there through 11 days. So let's go back to our trackers. We're still tracking ongoing severe weather and also quite a bit of metro damage. Really, the full extent is not yet known. So here's our live report, guys.
All right. Thanks so much, Mike. We've been following that water rescue at Lake Overholser.
Right.
We've got Kate Smith there live now. Kate.
Kate, update us. What have emergency responders said?
Yeah, I haven't been able to speak to the emergency responders directly yet, but I do know that the Oklahoma City Fire Department is on scene right now. Their dive team is out underneath the dam. Reports of at least one victim right now trapped under the dam, so the dive team is trying to get to that person, rescue them. Heavy rain coming down here, guys. We just came from Penn Avenue and took the turnpike the entire way here, flooding roads. The wind is picking up and lightning still coming down heavy today. Like I said, Oklahoma City Fire, their dive team is under the dam right now trying to rescue at least one victim.
All right, Kate, update us whenever you get a chance. We're hoping the best for that person underneath that dam. And we're getting damage reports too. Our photographer, Ryan Nave, is down at the new convention center that's being built.
And I believe some of the roof maybe being
we're going to look at
peeled
it.
away.
But let's see what it looks like there now. Kind of hard to tell, but if Ryan can push in a little bit, maybe we can see more. Not exactly sure what the damage is there, but there's going to be damage
The
because
reports of 10, I believe. flying
10.
off, yeah,
I gotcha.
flying off of the building there. As you can
Okay.
see, it's still under construction. This is a live picture. Photojournalists just kind of panning around the scene there.
Yes, and that new convention center going up, and it's got cranes up, as you saw, so they're prone to damage too. But Ryan showing you some of the damage that occurred there from this storm. Like Mike said, a hurricane inland, and it was centered right over Oklahoma County.
Yeah, probably did not help with the construction there.
Yeah.
You know, it's not everything's up, and looks like there's a lot of equipment and a lot of building material around. So they're going to have some things to clean up tomorrow.
They are, and that crane you see up there, I'm surprised it didn't. Maybe it got swung around and hit some things too. So we'll just have to check. And let's go back to Peyton Yeager in Norman.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, we're live right now in Norman, right off of I-35 in Tecumseh. This on cue, slowing down a little bit right now if Jordan pans out. We had that sideways wind. It's slowing down a little bit. I posted on social media. I was trying to see in Norman who has power and who doesn't. I'm already getting some responses. No power by the Warren. 19th and Santa Fe, no power at Broadway and Eastern. Lots of Broadway power outage have been commented on this post. So we have some power outage down here in Norman and Moore in Cleveland County, but we're still under this on cue off of I-35 in Tecumseh. The rain's slowing down, but good news is we still have a crowd here underneath the on cue, people not risking it out on those roads. Mike Morgan mentioning flooding's going to be a problem going into the early hours of the morning, all night. So these people not taking a chance. So don't get out on the roads, but we have some power outages down here in Norman and Moore. We're going to send it back to y'all.
All right. Thank you, Peyton. Live in Norman right now.
And we were talking about power outages, Jolene, and the total now I think is up around, did you say 40,000?
40,000 at least.
Yeah, I believe that's what we're hearing. And Mike says you can multiply that by about 3.
3 people per household.
Yeah, so 120,000 folks in the dark right now, unfortunately. And we've had some fires too, house fires.
The last report from the Oklahoma City Fire Department, of course, they're still going through everything and keeping track of everything that they've gone on, and they're still doing it at this hour. But so far, what they've reported to us, 3 house fires. This is Oklahoma City alone. A couple of water rescues with stalled vehicles on the road, but we saw at least 3 that our crews found as we were driving through. It was at I-35 and the Northeast
23rd
exit.
Right, and I-35.
And then, of course, there's the water rescue with someone in the water beneath the dam at Lake Overholser. When our crews are there right now, Kate Smith just got on scene.
Yeah, she did.
Trying to gather more information.
And beneath the dam does not sound very good,
No.
unfortunately. So we're going to continue to follow that. And is this back at the dam?
Yes.
Okay, that's back at Lake
Yes.
Overholser there. That's where the water rescue is going on right now. Kind of hard to see because of a lot of the power out. Of course, it's dark.
I don't think we're quite certain if a car went off the road, if this is someone who got swept away in the water, and I'm not quite sure how they got there, but our crews are on the scene gathering information, and we'll get back to them as soon as they can speak with some of the officials there on the scene.
It's hard to navigate out there.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to go back downtown right now. And there, from Ryan Nave, is the damage reported at the new convention center, which is being constructed and going up right now. We hope not too much damage there because, of course, taxpayers are paying for that. That's part of the maps.
I think some of the tin, maybe part of the roof is what was reported. It's kind of hard to tell. Again, like you said, of course, this is under construction. They're still building it, so it's hard to tell what exactly, what damage is there. But
it's not good. No. Whatever it is, we don't need any of that. We don't need anything damaged around here. But, Mike, unfortunately, we have had damage and water rescues and tornadoes,
house fires.
and arcing transformers.
Yes, this was a really, obviously, right? This was a really powerful storm. Inland hurricane is about as close as you can go to describing it. You know, think of an EF1 tornado, a low-end EF1 tornado. If you have one of those, it might last for maybe 30 seconds, 45 at the longest seconds, and the winds may go up to about 90 miles an hour. Think of all the folks tonight that had 80 to 90 miles per hour for 15, 20, 25 minutes straight. More like a hurricane than a tornado, but the winds were similar to a low-end EF1 tornado, but for like 30 times to 60 times longer in time. So you can imagine, yes, there is a lot of damage out there, and you got to really watch tomorrow morning's drive. Power lines, tree limbs, some trees, some sheet metal debris, things like that. We've been showing you a sample of that throughout the evening with this inland hurricane that really peaked in intensity right over, you saw the wind really come up right over Oklahoma City, from Edmond right down through downtown, right through the state capitol, right down through Midwest City. That was the zone of the highest wind. Tonight, we still have severe thunderstorm warnings, Potawatomi, Cleveland, McLean, Grady County here. Storms also down between Chickasha and Rush Springs, and flash flood warnings also continue, and there are some rainfall rain gauges that have over 4 inches of rain now in parts of West Oklahoma City. The heaviest rain in the storms now from Minco and Tuttle to Newcastle down to Blanchard, down to Noble and Slaughterville and Norman, and parts of Moore. Hail sizes here are not huge, but there's pockets of decent sized hail. And over into Potawatomi County, this was the original wind storm, the original inland hurricane right there. It's slow to wind down still over around Tecumseh and Shawnee. The rest of this is all back building on the flank of the original storm, continuing with the flooding rainfall. Flood-prone areas are going to go in flood. Talking about, of course, notorious down in Norman. Very, very heavy rain in Norman. Sheets of rain, blowing spray in Norman right now. Severe thunderstorm warnings and flood warnings are in effect. Back into northern Grady County, there's the back edge, back by Minco, Amber, Pocasset. Hail sizes, some quarters out there between Amber and Tuttle, south side of Minco, and some nickels, and a few quarters to the northwest of Okarche. So those storms there are also still severe. Right now, Oklahoma County itself has very little large hail in it. There's some small hail over Mustang right now, mainly just pea size, maybe a few dimes near Mustang down to the river, and then down to the northwest sides of Newcastle there. So some hail there, kind of the southwest loop there of the turnpike down there in southwest Oklahoma City. So some hail there. There's OCCC, there's the Warren Theater, there's more, and pockets of hail in Norman, but nothing very large right now. So this is going to go on for a long time overnight. Periods, some occasional severe storms, periods and pockets of some hail. Here's the wind. The colors continue to get less bright, so the windiness continues to diminish, but still a lot of 40 and 45-mile-an-hour gusty winds out there. Some local pockets of some higher wind. You see them developing here, kind of flaring up from time to time in the South Metro. So the ongoing severe thunderstorm warnings. These are a lot of the damage reports, the hail reports, and the wind reports, all those little circles that you see from this evening's activity. 2 tornadoes today at least, one coming into North Edmond much earlier, and also one was up by Mulhall in Logan County. So guys, the flooding threat's going to be the main threat continuing, especially down here in the southern sides of the metro. Still tracking all this, but the inland hurricane effect continues to gradually wind down.
That's good, Mike. And you just knew, having spent much time in Oklahoma, Jolene and I, and you were raised here, with that hot, humid weather, if a cool front slammed into that.
Exactly.
Well, that's kind of
it's so true.
given.
That's what happened. And I don't mean to interrupt you. I just kind of get excited.
Right.
You start talking about that. I start thinking of the dynamic effect, of the weather effect that happened today. Right. I'll just surmise it for you briefly, right? We had some of the most unstable weather that we've really, frankly, ever seen. We had enough available energy for really big-time storms. And then a cold front came in. A cold front is like a wedge. It literally acts like a wedge or a shovel underneath like a snowdrift. And you can lift it up, right? You can force all that energy up through the cap or the lid and then explosively develop with the energy of the updrafts. And that was the effect that we had tonight. That's why this storm was so much more intense than a lot of the, not more intense than any we've ever had, but more intense than a lot of what we have had, because it released all that energy by a cold front, which literally just forced all that energy up through the cap. And then, of course, by that time, you release the energy, and the result was the 90-mile-an-hour winds, the 2 tornadoes, and the widespread hail and flooding. Really an amazing meteorological phenomenon occurred. Of course, the result is a lot of damage, a lot of power outages for Oklahomans tonight.
I remember Mike saying in the early newscast, he said, I haven't seen conditions like this for a while. This could be a bad thing this evening.
Yeah, he called it.
Yeah. So we're also talking about some of the power outages here. We've got a lot. At last check, it was what, 40,000?
More than 40,000.
More than 40,000 in the metro area. So a lot of folks are without power. As Mike said, tomorrow's not going to be as hot, so that's good if they're trying to get their power back to get their air conditioning running. If they don't have it for a while tomorrow,
if they
it's not
don't have
gonna
any power, it's
yeah.
going to be good.
Yeah.
They're going to be thankful that
Yeah.
it's just, you know, we're just going to have 70s tomorrow.
Exactly.
Or the high, and also not just in the metro area. There are parts of some of the rural areas too without power as well.
Let's go back to Mike again real quick. And Mike, we know that it's hitting the Norman area right now, and we saw from Peyton Yeager it's coming in sideways like it did here.
Yeah, a lot of blowing spray down there. Good thing the winds are only like 50 down there, 50 to 60. You know, you start getting up in that 80 to 90 like we had. It's so much more of a severe situation. So ongoing tonight, the flooding threat will be in the southern and the western metro. Still a few storms coming in. But make sure you watch your morning drive tomorrow morning. We're going to do cut-ins periodically out throughout the night tonight. Still some severe weather in progress down in the south and southwest metro especially. So you folks in Grady County, Cleveland, and McLean County, certainly stay alert, and there'll be occasionally some hailstorms coming through. We'll update you with cut-ins and still a few more storms coming in from the northwest. So throughout the overnight hours, we'll do cut-ins right here, and we will keep you forewarned.